Welcome to Freedom in Commerce. Now, this particular webpage is devoted to showing everyone how to use commercial processes to get your butt out of trouble. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I'll just give you, a quick idea of what we do. In January, my grandson, who was 18 or 19 at the time, and he got pulled over by a cop. Here, a local cop in town, Campton. And the cop told him that he stopped him for doing 10 miles over the speed limit. So, as the cop was talking to my grandson, his name is Drew, we call him Drewby. So, I'll just call him Drewby, and then you'll know who I'm talking about. So he looked at Drewby and he says, "What's all this snow and ice up here on top of the car?" And Drewby wasn't really thinking about it. So he had no idea why he was being stopped. So the cop stopped him for one thing, but then he directed his attention to something else which had a bigger payday. And he wrote him up for reckless driving because of the snow and ice. And I guess there was a case where a big semi had ice on top of the truck, and it fell off of the truck, and anyway, this girl ended up dead because of it. So New Hampshire made a law that, or not a law, because they can't make law, but they made a statute, and they put it under the reckless driving thing. So my grandson was going to get royally screwed. So the cop turned his paperwork in and everything else, and then the court case began from there. So shortly after we got the notice that there was a court date, we started sending paperwork to the court. Now, there are things that the court doesn't want to hear. And these are the things that will get you off of a problem like this. So we did up our paperwork and we sent it into the court. So we had asked for a continuance. We wanted to make sure we had everything in that we possibly could. And so anyway, to make a long story short, Drewby went to court and the judge dismissed his case. Just said, "No, this is wrong, so we're going to dismiss the case." Now, I don't know if you know anything about traffic court, but they don't never dismiss nothing. Not when they can get their hands on $350, because that's what it was going to cost them for this. They never let people go. That's why they have a 98% conviction rate. Now, does that sound fair to you? No, it's not fair. Not fair at all. If it was fair, if it was a fair court, it might be somewhere around 50-50. And that I could understand. But this is nothing more than highway robbery, you know. So anyway, he dismissed the case. We went on a merry way and we were happy. But then about 2-3 weeks later, we get a notice from the prosecutor. And the prosecutor says, look, we want to retry your case. And I'm going, oh, isn't this nice? So they the prosecutor put in a motion to retry the case because of blah, 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 blah. It was all kinds, it was bullshit. And so at that point, I put in a counter offer to that, to the one that the prosecutor put in. And in that, I explained to the judge that it would be in the best interest of everybody to just leave the dismissal in place and deny the prosecution a retrial. And in that document, I explained everything to the judge. What I was going to do, how I was going to do it, and under what circumstances it was going to happen. So I had mentioned to him in there that we're going to have a jury trial this time. And then all this information that's in this document is going to come out. Well, don't you know, we got a letter from the judge saying that they're not going to continue the case. They're going to deny the prosecution this whole deal. So that made us very happy, and that ended that particular case. But the idea of this is that nobody in that courthouse wanted to do this. They were forced into letting us go because of the things that I mentioned to them, and it's all commercial law. And nobody uses commercial law anymore. Well, I shouldn't say nobody does. People like the IRS use it when they're going to steal your house and put a levy on your house and stuff like that. But the thing is, whatever they can do, we can do. And we can do it better. All you got to do is know how. And most of the time, people think that they can't fight City Hall. Well, let me tell you something. If you use commercial processes, you can put the whole town out of business with a simple document. And that's what I want to teach you guys, how to do this stuff. Now, you don't have to be a brainiac to do this. But you do have to learn some things. Now, people don't want to learn nothing unless they're in trouble. And that's a shame, because the kids are getting out of school and they know absolutely nothing about commercial processes or anything like that. But see, in the days of the Founding Fathers, when they were running things under common law, this kind of thing was all they had. And just about everybody, like in 1776, up to about 1800, this is all they did. It's all commercial all commercial law and common law. Now you might say, well, common law is dead. No, it's not dead. Because your Constitution is written with common law. So, common law was written to make it, and the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution, says that it is the supreme law of the land. Supreme, that means the top dog. Anything that's in conflict with the Constitution is an unconstitutional process, and you cannot be punished while you're using your constitutional protections. Now, there's a lot of things for you to learn about this, and I make a suggestion. Look, I don't care if you buy this package that I have for you or not, but if you don't get it, you're going to have to search for these documents all by yourself. And I'm going to tell you, it took me, roughly 7, 8 years to get all this stuff together. Now, this download package that I have is going to prepare you for all these processes that we can do. Now, it costs $30, but there's like 16 gigabytes of data in there. It's all books that you're going to need. It's all kinds of affidavits, all kinds of processes, how to handle the IRS, you name it. Anything you want to do, any kind of trouble that you think you're in, you're not in as much trouble as you think you are. All right? This goes anything from people having their children taken from them in family court. Listen, all the stuff they're doing in there is illegal. That's right. So, if you know how to fight this stuff, it's relatively easy. And, we try to keep it as simple as possible. There's a few documents you can do, and that are very, very powerful. One of the first things you got to do is you got to get your copyright on your, I'm going to say on your name, but really it's the artwork that looks like your name. All right, like the letters arranged in a certain pattern. That's what you're putting a copyright on. They will tell you that you can't copyright your name. The government will tell you that. But that's not true, because we do it every day. The people that use these processes. And it's there to protect you. A simple thing like a copyright on the artwork that looks like your name. If you got a bill collector coming after you for money, or if you've got anything like that, even the government coming after you for stuff, they're using your copyrighted property. Now, the copyrighted property, which is the thing that looks like your name, if they use it without your permission, there's a fine that goes with that. And it for each time that they use your copyrighted property, it's going to cost them 15,000 silver eagles. Now, a silver eagle is like, it used to be what a silver dollar was, but these have been minted from up to like 2000, 2010. They do them yearly, and they are 1 solid ounce of 0.999 silver. Now, the silver, each one of these things, if you went to the coin store and bought them, you'd be paying about $27 a piece. So that 15,000 Silver Eagle penalty that they have to pay comes up to about $375,000 in Federal Reserve notes. A note, Federal Reserve notes. You hear that? That's an IOU. Those paper bills are not money. Silver and gold is money still. The Constitution says so. Now they've got everybody thinking that you have to use dollar bills, Federal Reserve notes. No, that's not real money. And there's a lot of stuff to explain to you about that. So basically, this website is where you're going to start to learn your shit. All right? You're going to learn how to protect your copyright. For instance, if one of these finance companies is coming after you and demanding money and stuff like that, well, if they use your copyrighted property to do it, they owe you money. And they owe you a hell of a lot more than you owe them. So, just for a sample, an idea, they come after you and say, okay, you were late on this thing and this, that, and the other thing, and you owe us this money and we want it by this time. Well, that's nice. But when somebody sends you something like that in commerce, you have to respond to that. You can't just sit there and ignore it, because the maxims of law state that if a person, if they send you something like that and you ignore it, then you agree with everything they're saying in that document. And after they've notified you about 5 or 6 times, now they can do a judgment on you. And that's exactly what we're going to do to them. We're just going to reverse it, and we're going to use their own processes against them. So now they violated your copyrighted property, and I might add, if you look on the envelope, it's going to have your name on the outside, and it's going to have your name in the document, and more than likely they'll have it somewhere else at the bottom of the document or something like that. Well, that's 3 times that 15,000 Silver Eagles. So you're over $1 million that they owe you now. Okay? So now you send them paperwork. You send them an invoice. And the invoice is for the copyright fee that they didn't pay you. Now, you would think that would be enough for them not to send you any more letters. No, they're not smart, see? So they'll send you another one. And then you just add that to the bill. And you might say you don't have a chance in hell of getting any of that money. Oh, don't be so sure of that. All right? Don't bet the bank on that, because you can get it. You can get paid. Once you get the paperwork done and you do a thing that's called an international commercial claim, that international commercial claim is a lien. It's a commercial lien. And once you put that lien in place, there's nobody can touch it. No judge can change it. No judge can take it off. They don't have jurisdiction over liens. So it's all commerce, and they're bound by it. I don't know if you've heard a thing about the Uniform Commercial Code, but the UCC is very strong. Now, this is one of the tricky things that they do. They say that, oh, the UCC doesn't exist. You won't find it out there. There's no such thing. Well, the fact is that all the states have taken the UCC and encoded it into their own laws. So they don't call it the UCC. They call it their own commercial laws for the state. So in order to use the UCC stuff properly, you just have to find it in the state law. And once you have, you just use the state law that says the same thing. So, like, when these companies are coming after you for money, there's a thing called UCC 3-501. Now, this 501 says that when somebody comes looking for you for money, you can require them to show you the instrument that says you owe it. Now, that would mean the original contract, not a copy. Copies don't work. They have to show you the original. And if it's being presented by somebody other than the person that says that that you have this thing with them, a contract, then they have to prove who that person is that says that. Now, I don't know if you understand this or not, but the fact is that if it's Wells Fargo or something like that, any one of them, you pick one, they're saying that Wells Fargo has a deal with you and you owe them money. Well, Wells Fargo is not real. There's nobody named Wells Fargo. Oh, there might be a representative of Wells Fargo that signs documents, but it's all fraud. Because if you file documents for somebody else, telling them that you're that one, that you're Wells Fargo, and you have the right to sue them for this money? No, because Wells Fargo doesn't exist. It's a fictional entity, and that goes for the IRS, the United States government, the state, and everything else. They all are fictitious entities, and they don't actually live in it. And somebody who's, I don't know, but you can't go down to the graveyard and say that John Williams over there in that grave told me that I owe him money and I have to pay it. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They're telling you that a dead person, Wells Fargo, has a contract with you. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but dead people can't sign anything. They don't have any fingers. They can't hold a pen. So, this just gives you a basic idea of some of the things that freedom in commerce is going to cover and educate you. So, until the next video, welcome to the site, and let's start using it. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.